If you're still using a microfiche reader to access your records, there is a better way. The first thing I'm gonna do is give you a day in the life of using a microfiche reader to get your records. And I'm gonna pretend that I'm a registrar and I'm pulling student transcripts from fiche. So let's say you have the 16mm jacket fiche. Those are microfiche sheets about yay big that have cut up pieces of microfilm in them. And the title on top would likely say something like name, date of birth, SSN, or maybe student ID. So say, oh, Will Whitney, my date of birth and my student ID number. So I'm sitting in my office, I'm the registrar. I get a call from John Smith saying, hey, I went to the school 30 years ago. I need my transcript for whatever reason. Okay, let me help you with that. Get up from my desk. I'm gonna walk over, probably to a cabinet, maybe a closet with some cabinets. There's cabinets in the office we're sitting in where there's all the fiche. And let's say it's a medium-sized school and there's maybe 50,000 fiche jackets. Old students, we've purged some. We're not creating new ones, but there's still a large chunk of fiche. So assuming they're organized in some sort of alphabetical order, maybe by year of graduation, then alphabetical order, or maybe just alphabetical completely, I'm gonna go start searching for my fiche, pull out the cabinets and start looking. So I'm in the S section for John Smith. And say there are 5 John Smiths that still are on microfiche. And I forgot to ask, oh, what's your date of birth or what was your student ID number? So now I have to call you back, assuming I had your phone number, email. So now I go back to my desk, do that. Oh, okay, it's John Smith, was born in 1973. I don't know, whatever. So then I go back to the cabinet, John Smith, 1973, there he is. Okay, there's only one of them was born in 1973, great. I don't have to now go to the student ID number. Now I pull the fiche. Now I walk over to the hardware, the metal, the reader printer where I put the fiche on, and I put it on, it's called a platinum little glass, and I scan the first image, tap, 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 scan the next image, tap, 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 scan the next image. Let's say there's 15 images and I do that. So I scan them. Maybe I don't even have a newer contemporary reader printer. I have one where I have to just print out the pages right there. Let's say I have a nicer version, a new contemporary version where I can scan the images, get a 15-page document, have my thumb drive there, maybe it's connected to our network already. Great, finish scanning. Let me go put that fiche back, walk back over to the cabinet, put it in. Now I have that 15-page PDF. I have the email of John Smith, making sure I send it securely, and then I email it to him and I'm done. Even just explaining the process, that was what? I don't know, 2 minutes or something like that. And I'm not even doing anything. I'm just talking about doing something. So you can imagine actually doing that process is 15, 20, 30 minutes. Who knows? Let's say you're getting a couple calls a day to do that. That's a lot of time being spent on microfiche physical records and using a reader printer. There is a better way, as the title of this video suggests. One option is replacing the reader, but let's say you have an older version, the ones where you don't even have it connected to a computer, you have to just print out the pages. Yes, there are the newer versions that automatically scan and say they can do everything and cut your bread for you and whatnot, but you're still using physical machines. It's connected to a computer, sure, you can adjust the images fine, but you're still using the physical records in a physical machine. That requires, you have to buy it, which you're looking probably at least $8,000. So now you have to buy the new version or you have to replace an old one, an older version with a newer one. That's probably at least $8,000. And then you're still doing all the work. So not only are you paying money for a piece of metal, you're still doing all the work. It may be a little bit quicker, but you still have to rely on knowing where the fiche is, putting it back, getting it onto the scanner, then sending the files. It's still a lot of manual effort. And then you don't forget about the maintenance for the machine. You have to pay for that. These things break, you need someone to come out, maybe you have to send the machine back to somewhere, back to a factory to fix it. Let's say it's out of office for 3 weeks, but you're still getting requests. What are you gonna do if you don't have the machine and it's being fixed? Those are all things you need to think about when you're going, oh, I'll just replace my machine and get a new one, or just get an updated version. Remember all those things: manual, labor intensive, physical, no fun. One last thing before I move on to what you should be doing is it's not only all the physicality of it and the maintenance and the paying and whatnot. There's also the knowledge of how to use these machines. They're semi-intuitive, but it's 2026 and you're still using microfiche. Those were in their heyday in the 80s and 90s. It's time to move on because there's the knowledge of the microfiche themselves of how to use them and how to look for them and what's on there, and then how to use the machine and tie those pieces of information together. So that knowledge, as folks that have been around a while, they're retiring, they're moving on, going to different schools, different departments, whatever it is, that knowledge will start to drift away. Many of the people coming up in the ranks are born digital folks. They're native digital thinkers. They're thinking, what the heck am I using this giant piece of machinery for? Why isn't this digitized? What are these things? These little floppy things that include the student records with really small images. This isn't digital. That's what they're thinking. So it's not just, well, we think it's better to go digital. And we used to make a ton of microfilm, we get it. But digital now is the more efficient, the more productive, and typically cost-effective path as well. And the users moving forward will expect that, and it's harder to keep that knowledge for older methods. So going into the glorious world of digital microfiche, now I'm going to describe that same process if you have a digital record instead of using the physical microfiche. So here I am, clicking away, being very diligent as a registrar, get a call. Hello, this is Will. John Smith says, I'd like my record. Great, hold on a second, stay on the phone, click, click, click. Now, when I say click, 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 maybe you're using our digital reel platform. Very good for microfiche. Maybe you have an existing document management system already, or you just have it on a shared network. Whatever it is, you don't have to get up. You don't have to go to a cabinet. You don't have to go play around with a machine. You're sitting on the phone with old John Smith saying, give me a second. All right, John, I have a few records of John Smith. What's your date of birth? And he says, blah, 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 1973. Let's say there are two 1973 John Smiths. Okay, I still have a couple of those records. So what's your student ID number? And he goes, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great, I have it. Let me get your email, get the email. I'm gonna export these files, encrypt them, and send them to you. You'll have them in a couple minutes. So you're in your document management system, and you just find the file, you export it, and then you set the email, boom, bang, done. That whole process could be a couple minutes compared to, let's say, the 20 to 25 minutes of the other way. Now you're going, well, but I have to pay for it. Of course you do. But if you're getting a couple requests, let's say every week, every day, who knows, that amount of time that you're not spending on that is more for whatever you're supposed to be doing, more productive efforts, because you just quickly download, you find it, email, you're done. Much quicker process, much less pain. You don't have to worry about maintenance of a machine. You don't have to worry about that knowledge transfer because people know how to access digital files these days. Everyone does it. And then of course there's the time aspect, which is you're just not spending a lot of time dealing with physical records and hardware. Okay, so now we're going on to costs and options. Jacket fiche, those microfiches that are roughly 6 inches by 4 inches, and they're like strips of microfilm. You're looking at up to about 60 images. If it's one student per physical sheet, you might have 15, 20, 30 images. Sometimes sheets include multiple students and they kind of run over multiple fiches. Those might be full with 60 images, but you're looking at about $1 per sheet to scan. Very rough. If you have 5,000 fiche, it may be a bit more, like $1.10, $1.25. If you have 300,000 microfiche, it'll probably be less, but it also depends on the indexing. Do you want it keyed from that title strip, or do you want each individual record indexed if there are multiple students on each sheet of fiche? So there are some nuances, but you're looking at about $1 a sheet. The other type of fiche that you'll likely see is COM microfiche, and those are the ones that have between 208 and 270 images typically, and they're typically dark images. It's called COM, computer output microfiche. So COM microfiche were digital or computerized images that were put onto microfiche sheets. They're very consistent typically, and they're usually full, and there's typically also, if you're looking at me and I'm holding the sheet and it's right reading towards you, so it's the same size as the jackets, but if the title is right reading this way and looking at you, there's usually an index image at the very bottom right that tells you what's on that sheet. So that can be useful as well. A lot more records on those. But those you're looking around $250 a sheet. Again, it depends. If you have 5,000 of them, you're gonna have a different price than if you have 50,000 of them. The reason they're more pricey is because there are, compared to the jacket fiche, about 4x the number of images. So that's a lot more scanning time, processing time, potentially indexing. We just did a project with roughly 60,000 of those COM fiche, and we actually keyed the records from the images, and there were about 9 million records. So it can be pretty extravagant when you have COM fiche, but just for scanning purposes, you're looking at about $250. Now, the outputs are the traditional method, which is what most people think of. You scan the fiche and you get a PDF file, a TIFF file, JPEG, something like that. There's also our digital reel platform that I mentioned earlier, secure hosted platform, great for fiche if you don't have a system and you just want some sort of archival, very basic application that gets the job done, not a lot of bells and whistles. Digital reel could be great for you, but that's a hosted option where we replicate the fiche in a digital format, so you actually see the original context. You can see what it looked like before scanning, as well as using the individual images. Pretty cool. So with all that in mind, you're going, great, Will, I really want to scan my fiche. I don't want a reader printer. I want to move into the digital age. It is 2026, I agree. Let's get it done. But how do I pay for it? Good question. You can check out this video. There are a couple different ways to pay for projects, especially larger ones. If you're thinking, how do I get a lump sum? I may not be able to do that. Can I do it over time? Can I break it up? This video is perfect. Check it out to find out how you can get your project paid for and get it done. Thank you for watching.